Hello and welcome to Uzreport World News, and my name is Bahram Ghafarov. US President Joseph Biden congratulated President Shavkat Mirziyoyev on the holiday Nowruz, wishing peace, happiness and prosperity to Uzbek people. His remarks started with mentioning the role of Nowruz holiday in remembering that peace is an incredibly important blessing, especially when the American and Uzbek side are jointly supporting the peace process which puts an end to war in Afghanistan and provides a stable and diplomatic solution. He also expressed his readiness to cooperate in continuing the Uzbek nation's recent successful reforms and his hope that cooperation within the framework of C5+1 dialogue, which began 5 years ago under the leadership of Secretary of State John Kerry. Joe Biden concluded his letter with best wishes to the Uzbek president and the people of Uzbekistan in this new year and in the new spring. Uzbekistan has cancelled mandatory coronavirus testing at airports, railway stations and border checkpoints, the Special Republican Commission said on March 13. All passengers still need a negative PCR test made no earlier than 72 hours before entering the country. The test results must be in English or Russian, it said.
If travelers arrive by road and do not have a PCR test result, they can take a rapid test for the COVID-19 antigen in special clinics and laboratories at border checkpoints. Starting March 25, travelers will have to provide a negative result of a PCR test for coronavirus obtained in laboratories that meet quality standards, the Commission added. Responsible organizations have been instructed to compile and publish a list of laboratories that conduct high-quality and reliable PCR testing abroad, at least 10 laboratories in each country.
Due to the severe health risks associated with COVID-19 and the fact that reinfection with COVID-19 is possible, people should be vaccinated regardless of whether they had already COVID-19 infection and recovered, Uzbekistan's Ministry of Health reports, citing Botirjon Kurbanov, the country's anti-coronavirus staff expert.
Botirjon Kurbanov said that following the recommendations of the World Health Organization and the relevant order of Uzbekistan's health minister, the population was divided into risk categories. These categories include persons over 65 years of age, health personnel and people with chronic conditions under dispensary observation. Besides, the list includes representatives of armed forces and law enforcement bodies, transport services, as well as journalists, bloggers, school and preschool education employees. Later on, it is planned to reach out to the rest segments of the population. The vaccination will be carried out in the central and family polyclinics as well as family doctors' offices. The immunization will be also implemented by mobile teams.
The administration of Uzbek capital has made a decision to strengthen the control over compliance with quarantine requirements. In the framework of a special meeting on Monday, the city mayor Jahangir Ortiqxhojayev noted the importance of taking control of the current situation, ensuring full compliance with the current quarantine requirements and the standards in all districts, neighborhoods, workplaces and educational institutions of the city, as well as in crowded places including markets, shopping centers and public transport. Instructions were given to the persons responsible for preventing the spread of coronavirus infection in the capital and monitoring the full compliance of the population with the current quarantine requirements and sanitary and hygienic standards. Uzbekistan on Sunday confirmed 111 coronavirus cases, exceeding the mark of 100 cases for the first time since December 24. Meanwhile, the Ministry of Health said there was no cause for concern and denied reports about the filling of infectious diseases hospitals. An image gallery of Renate Graf, a Franco-Austrian photographer famous for her exclusive documentary black and white portraits, is being exhibited these days in the capital city of Uzbekistan. The event features 109 monochrome photographs and 9 photo books created during the artist's travels in Central Asia in 1993.
In 1993, Renate Graf, together with her partner Anselm Kiefer, went to Central Asia along the Silk Road. That 3-month-long journey served as an inspiration for 2 photographers, and Renate Graf, during her journey, decided to focus her attention on the Silk Road routes, as well as Asia's secret landscapes and Siberia.
We're extremely happy to present this exhibition. It depicts the voyage along the Silk Road conducted by Mrs. Renate Graf in 1993 1993, and Uzbekistan was included in the route. On the eve of the 30th anniversary of the Republic's independence, we thought it would be interesting to look back through one poet's perspective, as Mrs. Renata Graf is both a photographer and poet. The photographer goes against the tide. Her works are neither digitized nor photoshopped, and she prints her works on rare paper and has a special style of depicting real stories. Some photographs look like pencil drawings. For instance, a photograph about Bukhara looks like it was written in pencil, but that is a picture and the power of the light of the photograph. The picture shows us that we cannot see right away. I would like to take this opportunity and invite everyone to this exhibition.
Also, the ambassador shared the plans for the upcoming 2022 that include the very important exhibition of the Central Asian artifacts in the Louvre Museum. The event will be organized in cooperation with Uzbekistan's Art and Culture Development Foundation and represent artifacts from different museums of Uzbekistan. The ambassador said that the date of the event was not yet determined.
Le regard est important dans un photographe.
Please pay attention to this picture that was also photographed in 1993. You can see a unique technique of the photographer, the way she depicted a man. Look him in the eyes. Take a look at the screened mise-en-scene. Here we can see the photographer's outstanding style, which depicts some spirituality and poetry because Renata Graf is a poet. And here we can witness the merging of various styles. The photograph was printed on Hungarian paper. Many photographers know that this is not so easy to do. I can say Renata Graf is one of the greatest photographers of our century, as I would call her a filmmaker, as each photographer depicts a story. For me, this photograph is a masterpiece.
The exhibition reflects Renata Graf's vision of the desert, architectural and archaeological heritage and cultural traditions, and presents a series of portraits made in cities and rural areas of Uzbekistan. The exhibition concludes with the theme of climate change and global warming, which affects the entire planet due to the widespread melting of glaciers. There is also a photo canvas with approximately 30 images from Siberia depicting the growing environmental concern.
Japan and Uzbekistan signed 6 more grant contracts under the program Gratuitous Assistance to Small-Scale Social Projects. The purpose of the program is to provide assistance to socially vulnerable segments of the population by ensuring their basic human needs and human security.
The signed contracts were channeled towards medical and educational institutions of the Republic of Kyrgyzstan, Fergana, Sirdarya, and Jizak regions. Advisor of the Embassy of Japan in Uzbekistan reported that up to now, 400 projects have already been implemented in the field of health, education, and agriculture. The total amount of the projects is about $29 million.
The main goal of the Japanese government is to provide medical and technical equipment for education through this project, especially to regional institutions, because we're trying to reduce the difference in the quality of education and services provided in the country.
Starting from March 14, the largest private Egyptian airline Nile Air has started operating regular flights to Uzbekistan. With average 165 passengers, Airbus 320 will be flying en route Sharm el-Sheikh, Tashkent, Sharm el-Sheikh on Sundays.
AstraZeneca said Sunday a review of safety data showed there was no evidence its vaccine raises the risk of blood clots. The company's review covered more than 17 million people vaccinated in the United Kingdom and European Union, and comes amid a flurry of suspensions over alleged clotting issues. Authorities in a number of countries, including Ireland, Austria, and the Netherlands, have suspended the vaccine. In a statement, the company said, AstraZeneca has shown no evidence of an increased risk of pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, or thrombocytopenia in any defined age group, gender, batch, or in any particular country. The drug maker added 37 blood-related incidents have been reported so far, which it says is similar across other licensed COVID-19 vaccines. The company plans to publish the monthly safety report on the European Medicines Agency website within the next week. AstraZeneca's vaccine, developed with Oxford University, has been authorized for use in the European Union and other countries, but not yet in the United States. The company is expecting results from U.S. Phase 3 trials in the coming weeks, when it will then file for emergency authorization.
As Germany's coronavirus cases rise and lockdown measures continue, a farm in Western Germany is offering people feeling deprived of human contact an unusual alternative: cuddling a sheep.
Wir müssen irgendwie gucken, dass es hier weitergeht.
Lexa Voss, who runs the educational program on a farm near Hattingen, says her marvelous sheep love getting visitors and they react positively toward humans. After booking an appointment and following certain coronavirus protocols, visitors can get as close as they like to the shaggy sheep. Teresa Pfeffer, a recent visitor, said she thinks hugging sheep is very appropriate right now and a great experience as people have to keep their distance with others during the pandemic. The cuddle sessions are free of charge, but visitors are asked to make donations to the farm.
A dangerous winter storm pummeled parts of the U.S. Rockies and Western Plains with heavy snow on Sunday, shutting down Denver's busy airport and forcing the closure of major highways. The National Weather Service said 3 feet or more of snow was expected to fall in high-altitude areas, and blizzard warnings due to high winds were in effect for parts of Colorado, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Wyoming. In Cheyenne, about 26 inches of snow had fallen by noon, according to the National Weather Service, setting a new 2-day record for the city. More than 57,000 customers were without power in Colorado, according to an outage tracker maintained by utility Xcel Energy. Interstate 70 and 25, Colorado's main roadways, were shut down as of Sunday afternoon, and Interstate 80, which runs east-west across Wyoming, was also closed. The system bringing blizzards to the Rockies was also responsible for severe thunderstorms in Texas, including reports of multiple tornadoes on Saturday. No deaths were reported.
A red Ferrari, 600 kilograms of cocaine, and an arsenal of weapons, including a Japanese sword, were seized from members of the largest drug gang in Madrid, police said on Sunday. 12 members of the gang were arrested, and Spain's national police called them very violent. Some $800,000 in cash was seized, along with 20 expensive cars, including the Ferrari. 3 daggers and several automatic weapons were also found during a series of raids. Police said in a statement that it was the largest cocaine distribution organization in the Spanish capital. A drugs lawyer carried out legal duties for the organization, including money laundering, while gang members used code names to refer to each other or the apartments used to store the cocaine. The leader of the gang, who is from Morocco, worked with other gangs in Morocco, Spain, Northern Europe, and Colombia. Spanish police worked with counterparts in Colombia to carry out the operation.
Police broke up an illegal party with nearly 600 people in a windowless Sao Paulo nightclub in the early hours of Saturday, highlighting defiance of social distancing rules that has made the country's outbreak the world's deadliest at the moment. Authorities are ratcheting up restrictions as Brazil's outbreak surges to record levels. Sao Paulo officials have taken increasingly dramatic steps to show they mean business, including reinforced blitzes to suppress the city's famous nightlife. Police officer Eduardo Botero ran Saturday's operation. Today was the situation that we would have never imagined. There were hundreds and hundreds of people in a place without a single window and with all the doors closed. It was Sodom and Gomorrah. With axes and assault rifles, police officers broke down the door of the nightclub in the city's Capão Redondo district, piercing the darkness with flashlights mounted on their weapons. Hundreds of young partiers, few of them masked, cowered on the dance floor as police silenced the music and arrested organizers. Revelers who were forced to leave, like Jefferson dos Santos, criticized the operation.
We pay taxes and we know the risks. We may get sick or infect our family, but we need to do something in our life.
Officer Botero said the crackdown, while harshing people's vibes, would save lives. This operation is about social and public health rather than a police operation. We're here to disperse the crowd. It was very positive, and certainly many lives were saved today. COVID-19 killed 12,000 Brazilians over the past week alone, more than any other country. With 275,000 lives lost in total, Brazil's death toll lags only the United States, where the epidemic is slowing.
Abdelrazak Al-Khatun was a well-to-do farmer in Syria's rural Hama province. Now, 10 years on from the start of the civil war, he is penniless, homeless, and living in a tent in northern Idlib. Far worse, Khatun says he has lost his 13 children and wife in the conflict.
After I went out following the revolution, I lost 3 children, and I started moving from one village to another until I reached Sarakib. I lost another 7 at the gas station. I've lost 13 children now, and my wife, Ayman.
His oldest child was 27 and the youngest just 13 years old. He says some were rebels opposed to President Bashar al-Assad's government. Speaking to Reuters through tears, Khatun showed a video on his phone which he said showed the grisly execution of one of his sons. Reuters could not independently verify his account of the civil war, but his story is not uncommon. Hundreds of thousands of people have been killed in the fighting that began with protests that quickly turned violent in 2011. Millions more, like Khatun, have fled their homes for safer areas within Syria or as refugees abroad. The Assad government denies that it tortures captives. Moscow and Damascus also deny accusations of indiscriminate bombing of civilians, saying they only target radical militants. Assad has survived the insurgency and now holds sway over many parts of the country, helped by Russia and Iran. He is set to maintain power after a presidential election later this year. As for Khatun, now 84 years old, he lives with his surviving grandchildren and the wives of his dead sons.
أنا مزارع وتشهد علي بلاد الشمال كله 1800 دلم خط واحد.
I'm a farmer and people knew this in the north. I used to work with 1,800 acres and I used to be one of the leading farmers. I'm a tough farmer. Now I am penniless, but I thank God for everything.
Sri Lanka will ban the wearing of the burqa and shut more than 1,000 Islamic schools, according to a government minister. It's the latest move from the government affecting the country's minority Muslim population. Speaking at a news conference, Sarat Weerasekara, Minister for Public Security, had this to say.
Yesterday I signed a cabinet paper to ban the burqa. It affects our national security directly. In our early days, Muslim women and girls never wore the burqa. It's a sign of religious extremism that came about recently. We're definitely going to ban it. Also, there are more than 2,000 madrasa schools in the country. Nobody can open a school and teach whatever you want to the children. Children from the ages of 5 to 16 years must study in accordance with the national education policy. Therefore, more than 1,000 madrasas that do not adhere to the national education policy and are not registered will be closed soon.
The government's moves on burqas and schools follow an order last year mandating the cremation of COVID-19 victims against the wishes of Muslims who bury their dead. The ban was lifted earlier this year after criticism from the United States and international rights groups.
So far, these were the latest news for today. Goodbye. Take care.